The movement of Battlefield 6 has become a large point of contention within the community, and it is probably the biggest, or close to the biggest, complaint that a sizable portion of the community has with the game at this point. Yet most of the discourse that I've seen about this topic online shows a clear misunderstanding of how movement in Battlefield 6 works, what is possible with that movement, and how it relates to past games in the series. This has become a bit annoying for me as it has started to prompt feedback about the game directed to EA that is tainted by misinformation. Feedback is not going to be valuable if it is educated by things that aren't true. So I'm going to go over some of the more common misconceptions that I see and show you what you can and can't do with this game's movement in order to try to help players form a more informed opinion. Probably the most common claim that I see is that Battlefield 6 does not have an accuracy penalty while jumping, sliding, or both. This is usually accompanied by a video of someone getting killed by a player that jumped one or several times during the fight. The problem with this claim is that under normal circumstances, it's simply not true. Although I think I know why players make this claim. I think players are noticing that Battlefield 6 has less visual weapon sway than some older titles when moving, and are equating that to more accuracy. What they're missing is that Battlefield 6 is a lot of bloom, and also that bullets come from the gun. If I recall correctly, in older titles, that is Battlefield 4 and older, bullets came from the camera. What you saw as weapon sway in those games was just an animation, not something that actually had a direct impact on accuracy. You can see it in this video that Rox is lasering people, while the gun is pointed at the ground, because the bullets aren't coming out of the gun. In Battlefield 6, weapon sway while in motion does hurt your accuracy, and it works alongside bloom to move bullets away from the point that you're aiming at. The end result being that shooting while jumping and sliding has an extreme effect on accuracy. It is not lost on me that most videos used as evidence of no such penalty occur at point-blank range, because point-blank range is the only distance at which you are going to hit anything with consistency while sliding and jumping. Even an SMG with the blue laser fails to hit most of its shots at 15-20 meters or farther. Circling back to the two complaint videos I showed earlier, both of them have critical details the player who lost the engagement failed to notice. In the first one, the enemy actually took longer to kill the player than they otherwise would have if they weren't jumping. You can see particles kicked up around the player's head as the bloom of the enemy's gun paints a circle around him. Hopping around only hurt them in this engagement. If they had just ran, slid, or dolphin dived into this room, they would have won before this player even had a chance to react. In the second video, the enemy fired most of their shots and finished off the player while crouched and stationary. They moved primarily to throw off the player's aim, then stopped and fired the rest of their shots. And yet, even if we make the assumption that movement players are lasering everyone else from 15 plus meters away in every game while hopping up and down like they're on pogo sticks, which they aren't, are we really going to pretend like that's new? The next claim I see is that the act of jumping incurs no penalty to momentum. This is usually accompanied by the claim that players in Battlefield 6 are bunny hopping, or b-hopping for short. I will assure you, in no uncertain terms, that to my knowledge you cannot b-hop in Battlefield 6. To make it clear, b-hopping is making multiple consecutive jumps with no loss in horizontal speed. You can b-hop in past Battlefield titles, such as Battlefield 4. You simply cannot b-hop in Battlefield 6. Every jump is slower and smaller than the last jump, and after the third jump in a short period of time, you are going to be barely hopping at all. Jumping up and down while nearly stationary a bunch of times is not b-hopping. It's just pointlessly jumping. You lose all your speed and all your accuracy for very little gain. The complaint that people are b-hopping isn't even a misinterpretation of the game's mechanics. It's just wrong. I also see people claim that Battlefield 6 is omni-movement, or something adjacent to omni-movement, which is a system implemented in Call of Duty since Black Ops 6 that allows you to slide, sprint, and dolphin dive in all directions. This is, once again, not in Battlefield 6. In Battlefield 6, you can only sprint forwards, and you can only slide in the direction in which you are sprinting. If you try to sprint or slide while only pressing A, D, or S, nothing happens. If you press A or D after you start sliding, you veer slightly to one side, and if you press S while sliding, you simply stop moving. You cannot slide in any direction other than the one you were facing when you started the slide. You can jump, press slide, and turn the camera before you land to look in a direction other than the one you are sliding in, but this is not omni-movement. Your direction of travel has not changed, and you are still exclusively sliding in your direction of travel. You cannot stop on a dime, change direction midair, slide backwards, or anything else that omni-movement allows for. Furthermore, this is in partial contrast to certain past Battlefield titles. Battlefield 4 contained a feature called air strafing, with which you were able to defy physics and change your direction of travel in midair by turning the camera. Nothing like that exists in Battlefield 6. You also cannot slide repeatedly over and over again, as sliding has both a cooldown and a repeat penalty similar to that of jumping. There's a period of time in which you cannot perform another slide, no matter how much you spam the button, and a subsequent slide feels, at least to me, like it's a bit shorter and slower than the first. Now we get to what is possible in Battlefield 6. The strongest movement possible in Battlefield 6 is the slide jump, jump slide, slide hop, whatever you want to call it. This is when you chain a jump to the start or to the end of a slide, or both. Or you slide and do 2 jumps, or you jump, you slide, you jump, something of that nature. In my opinion, this is pretty tame, especially since the accuracy penalties that we talked about earlier still apply. And since by jumping and sliding, as you combo these maneuvers together, you are incurring the cooldowns and the penalties. If I were to jump, slide, jump, I can't really jump more. I can maybe do a 3rd jump, but it's going to be smaller, and a 4th jump is completely out of the question. And really, you're moving so slowly at that point, and your accuracy penalty is going to be so high that you're probably dead. You should stop and just shoot the enemy that you're fighting long before you get to that point. It's not worth it, and not many people are seriously doing this. Which leads to my next point, which is that how big of a problem is it really? It's not everywhere. It's not all over the place. Not every player in the world is jump sliding around, which, again, is a very punishable and not universally advantageous move to do. Lastly, we'll get to one more thing, which is what I believe to be an exploit that some very good players are going to use to counteract some of the downsides we've discussed of using movement in Battlefield 6. In Battlefield 6, crouching has weapon sway. The barrel of the gun deflects downwards slightly at the bottom of the crouch before recovering, and it sways again as you uncrouch. This is in contrast to the weapon sway caused by jumping, where the barrel tilts up and then very far downwards as you land. It will also tilt down to the left or down to the right depending on the direction that you're jumping in. You can cancel this weapon sway from jumping by pressing crouch as your feet touch the ground from the jump. This will replace the weapon sway of the jump with the weapon sway of the crouch, giving you a much easier shot as you land. The timing is a little tricky to learn at first, but once you get the hang of it after some practice, it's not terribly hard to do. With that being said, it seems very unlikely that you are going to encounter a lot of people performing this exploit, especially not enough to measurably harm your experience in the game. Battlefield games have always had weird movement exploits, and I wouldn't be shocked to see this one get patched. Although I also wouldn't be shocked to see it not get patched, because it simply isn't impactful enough to really matter. Other games in the series have also had weapon sway cancel exploits. It's really not that out of the ordinary. And that brings up my big question, which is, with all of this in mind, is the existence of a singular movement combo that stacks nearly every accuracy penalty in the game, that makes your weapon sway all over the screen, that makes your bloom go so large your bullets are going to hit Mars half the time. Really so bad that we need to change the entire movement system of the game just to remove it. Because when people are performing these movement techniques, they are intentionally putting themselves at a fairly severe disadvantage in the hopes that by moving erratically, they're throwing off your aim. They're doing something you don't expect, which allows them to get the upper hand. That's all it is. They're not really at a major advantage. They're going to miss more than you are. So is it really that important? I'd also like to add that I'm not a sweat at the game. I'm not a streamer. I'm one of you guys. A lot of people see videos like this and they immediately dismiss it because, oh, it's a streamer saying it. Oh, it's a sweat saying it. Oh, you're just mad that you can't go 102 in every lobby. No, I don't go 102. I was one of the scary, evil, big bad movement demons in other games, but I'm just learning the ropes of Battlefield 6. I've been playing Battlefield for a long time, so I've always tried to stay in touch with what's possible in the games, what other players are doing, but I've never really taken the game seriously, and I'm still not really taking it that seriously. I'm just here to have fun. And my biggest concern is that making sweeping changes, because of things that really don't matter, has a chance to make the game less fun for really no reason.